We are now joined by the legend that is James Thompson. How are you, James?
I'm not too bad. Anytime anyone describes me as a legend, it always puts me in a good mood. So, no, I'm very good.
I have to say, you are one of my idols in the world.
Oh, you.
Literally are. You are not scared of another man live, are you?
Well, in a way, you kind of do get scared when you. Yeah, I'm not scared of fighting anyone. I'm scared of fighting them and looking stupid doing it, which some would argue can happen. But you got to take these chances, and you got to test yourself when you're doing MMA. That's what it's all about. If you're not going to get in there and do your best, what's the point?
But you say you go out there to do your best, and you really. The fight that really stands out to me is the fight with Kimbo Slice. I mean, we're going back a bit, but after that fight, you protested that decision, and I still stand by your rights to protest it.
Well, you have to really. I mean, even though it's not gonna, it was what it was. I mean, before the fight even happened, I realised, I'm brought in. I've had a few decent wins, but I'd also, at the time, had a few bad knockouts, and they were thinking I would be, a kind of credible step up for Kimbo to knock me out. I was aware why I was there. I was just pleased to get the chance. When you get Gary Shaw in on it, and there's so much I could go on about, where it was based. It was based where he used to work for the commission in New Jersey. He had one of the guys on the scorecard, one of the judges, had me losing the second round 10-8.
That's appalling.
And that's what I mean. How could I lose that second round 10-8? I mean, there's so many things like that. But as they say, stuff happens. I don't know if I can swear.
You can.
Stuff happens, and you just got to kind of get on with it.
I guess, after that fight, I mean, you were actually, what people forget is everybody always remembers the whole Roy Nelson thing, but you were the first man to crucifix Kimbo Slice.
Yeah. I mean, when I was watching it, I was like, with the same referee. Was it the same referee?
Dan Mergliata.
Oh, was it the same referee? I can't remember if it was or not. I don't know if I'd have made that up. Was it the same referee, Dan?
I think...
Or was it Herb Dean? I can't remember.
I think Herb Dean...
When Roy Nelson beat him.
Roy Nelson was Herb Dean, I think.
Right, yeah, okay. So I was just making things worse and winding myself up even more. But yeah, it was pretty much... was it? I'm sure it was the same referee. Anyway, he pretty much the same position, and yet, in a legitimate kind of organisation, it gets done. A lot of people say, was Dan Liotta kind of in on it, and it wasn't. He wasn't in on it. He was just swayed by the owners and that screaming that they stand it up. I mean, there's a lot of things like where they stood it up when I just got into side control, and that can change a whole fight. I mean, I took a lot of punches when they stood us back up, and who knows what would have happened when he was on the bottom. But yeah, listen, you don't want to get me started. I'll spend the next 3 days talking about this.
Well, maybe we can have you on another time so you can discuss that. But no.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I always like a good rant and a good moan. So yeah, anytime.
Well, we're definitely always prepared to listen. But no, the Kimbo Slice fight to me kind of... We've seen... I mean, I hate to say it to a fighter especially, but we've seen you knocked out. I mean, we've seen you unconscious. Kimbo didn't have you in that state at all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, people say, you are rocked. And I say, yeah, I was. I mean, Kimbo had me on the ropes. And do you know what? If it would have gone another minute, maybe he would have knocked me out. I don't know. I can't answer that. All I can know is that I was hurt, but I was still fighting. But he was gassed as well. He was done. And if I would have got a takedown, then if it would have hit the ground at all, again, who knows what would have happened? But he's looking like I'd win the fight. But it's all guesswork because they never let it run to its natural conclusion. So, who knows?
But then you also say, like you mentioned, the takedown. We've seen your takedowns are actually so powerful they can make people tap.
Well, my famous
Double leg.
famous double leg.
Yeah,
you know,
famous double
it has
leg.
taken a few people like that. It's got to be said.
Yeah, but that's another thing I kind of want to bring up. Before, of course, I'm sure Ray's got a few questions, but you fought also the world's strongest man, and that to even sign a contract going into a fight with him, what was that whole experience like?
Well, you know, I was at the time. I mean, it wasn't long ago when I say at the time, but you know, I was having a bad run of results. I was feeling very down, and I found myself lucky because you know I'm a big guy. I fight. I'm an exciting fighter, and people, you know, i.e. Kimbo and people like Marius, they think they can use me as a stepping stone, which you know, fair enough. And I'm not glad to be a stepping stone, but I find myself lucky to be in that position where I'm still getting paid good money and I'm getting these big fights. And with the Marius fight, that was, you know, it was great, and I found it. I thought, right, okay, let's dig in, let's get training. I mean, I hadn't trained for about, I don't know, I had some like personal problems. It was a good 3 months. I hadn't really trained, and I trained for that fight like 7 weeks. And even though I looked terrible, you know, you could see I looked really out of shape, I was actually quite fit. And then I just, you know, took my opportunity and got the win, and that kind of win gives you a bit of confidence, and then on you go.
Okay, yeah, I get you, especially if you hadn't trained as much for that fight. But man, my partner Ray, he loves the aspect of all the training and everything like that. Ray, do you have many questions on anything?
I've got a few, yeah. First of all, I'll just say back on what Jay was saying. I've been following mixed martial arts for a long time, and looking at your resume and the people that you've just fought like a who's who. You know, from your classics down, you know, to Don Fried, some of the beasts of like modern day MMA. But I always love to get the take on like the fighters' take on their career. So you've obviously, like I say, you fought some crazy names. Is there one fight for you that stood out over most? As I don't know, as like
I think the Don Fry fight was one that sticks in my memory because he was one of the first people I saw when I got into MMA, and he was one of my favourite fighters. I mean, he still is. I like his attitude. I like the way he fought. I like everything about him. So to fight him, and it was the last ever Pride. Do you know, to be part of the last ever Pride fight, you know, quite high up the bill, fighting you kind of legend. It's like, come on, you know, that's pretty lucky. I really appreciated everything about that fight. I really kind of savoured it, you know, even when that's why everyone kept on mentioning the you know, when we're doing Japanese press conferences, they were mentioning the time when, I can't remember the guy's name, the big Japanese guy, and they were both punching each other in the face.
Yeah, that was a crazy.
They mentioned that a lot, and I thought, well, if I get a chance, I'm going to kind of do that and see if I can recreate that a little bit, which is a bit of a kind of silly thing to do, I suppose, in a way. But I just wanted to kind of do something and be part of that, and you know, I did get a chance to do that. I got the win as well, you know, which, you know, I was absolutely made up over.
I mean, what you just said about Don Fry, I agree. I mean, he was your kind of first guy to come in and he could do the wrestling and the boxing, wasn't he? And he was
Yeah, he did have a good all round mixture of things, and he was just tough. He was just a proper tough guy. You know, so you know, getting a chance to fight someone like that, pioneer of the sport, you know, it was a big deal for me.
Yeah, I can see why it would be. What was it like fighting for Pride Fighting Championships?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, there was things. I was just, funny enough, I was talking to my girlfriend about this just today. That when you look back, you do forget how good you had it. Like I got into Pride. It was very strange. I was fighting for Ultimate Combat, a small kind of federation in Bristol, England, around Chippenham, and then as that finished, they managed to Pride got in contact, and I was off to Pride. You know, as soon as that finished, I was off, and you know, it was all a bit over my head. I kind of didn't realise. I mean, I watched Pride and everything, but I didn't realise he just kind of came easily. I didn't really realise how lucky I was, and you know, I do still appreciate how lucky I am and was to be in that kind of position.